Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, and today we're going to be talking about Facebook and the Metaverse again.
Nice again, but I feel like it's been a good enough gap since we had another
Well,
Facebook discussion.
not only gap, but there's been some developments. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, so we're talking about Facebook
well,
again.
I just don't want to get in the habit of like this becomes a Facebook channel is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because Facebook does a lot of this, a lot of yapping about stuff, but
yeah.
we let it build up and then we talk about it, right? Because it seems like every day there's like a new Facebook metaverse development. So,
Well, for sure.
what's been happening, Willis? Like, what's the next big thing?
Well, so recently, Zuckerberg has been talking about funding $50 million over the next couple of years to hire 10,000 people in Europe to build out the next metaverse. And not only that, but he's thinking about renaming at least some portion of Facebook's company into some metaverse centric name.
Yeah, I think he really wants to stand up, like, and be known. Like, he basically, this is Mark Zuckerberg, like, publicly putting on that cape.
Yeah,
In my opinion, like, he's the guy. He's the metaverse god
yeah,
in his own mind, right? So he's not afraid to really firmly commit to this, and I think there's good reason for it. Like, Facebook has a lot of incentive to really cement their legacy at this point. Just not just, I guess, because they're positioned well to do it. Obviously, right? Any company who has that much,
yeah,
wealth is
yeah.
positioned well to do it. But they have,
A war chest.
certain technological advantages to do so, right?
Yeah, I mean they own Oculus, and so they have the hardware to underpin whatever application layer that they want to build, which in this case would be the metaverse.
Yeah,
So I guess Zuckerberg doesn't have a good track record in terms of security and privacy and all that, and him building a metaverse, it's probably not the greatest idea, at least from like the consumer perspective. But there's so many people who are unaware as to what's going on. I mean, they'll jump into anything that has like, quick access or easy onboarding into something new like the metaverse. So, but Zuckerberg, what he's doing right is he's trying to out innovate Facebook. And he's thinking about, well, if something is going to take down Facebook, what is that thing? And I think he's speculating that it's going to be the metaverse. And so he's like, if it's the metaverse, then we should be building it. And
what do you
so,
mean by take down Facebook though? Is in like take away people's attention? Because that
yes,
would take down Facebook essentially, right? Because
yeah,
what Facebook has is like a suite of applications that people invest their time in, right?
that's right.
So to take down Facebook is to take away people's attention. So yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with this premise, dude. I think once a mature metaverse is going to be way more engaging than anything Facebook provides at the
I agree.
moment.
I mean, from a wholesome standpoint, Facebook's use case is to like bring families together, with pictures and like updates and all that. So imagine if you were doing that in the metaverse where you had an avatar, you kind of hang out with family members in this virtual space. I mean,
Yeah,
that sounds like a good use case.
totally. You could do things together.
Yeah.
Not just play tic tac toe or fucking Farmville or whatever the hell it is you do on Facebook. You can actually grow an actual virtual farm together.
Yeah.
In the
Or
metaverse.
hang out and watch a football game together in the
Yeah,
metaverse. So
exactly.
there's solid use cases. I mean, Zuckerberg is thinking about this correctly. I think what people don't like is the centralized dystopic version of this metaverse where Facebook ends up controlling everything anyways. And I agree. I mean, that's not a very good outcome of Facebook running a metaverse. However, he's right in the sense that it's probably going to be the metaverse that really erodes the value proposition of Facebook itself. So he's definitely thinking about it right. So, but now we got big CEOs, Animoca brands talking about how Facebook and a company like Tencent is really a threat to an open metaverse. So there's sort of like a metaverse race sort of brewing up, and Facebook obviously with their infinite funds has potential to really attract enough eyeballs to make open metaverses less appealing.
Yeah, and this is good ultimately for the because now we're seeing clear distinctions, I guess, camps forming the whole, just like you see for cryptocurrencies,
Mhm.
right? The
Yeah.
whole centralized versus decentralized debate. Bitcoin is a foundational layer to a digital financial infrastructure, but not controlled by any government. Yada, yada, yada. Same thing. For a long time, a lot of people understood this concept of the metaverse is like, it's a potential. It's at the up until now, it's been like a science fiction dream, like a wet dream of any cyber nerd out there. But some, just wasn't achievable, I guess, because most likely not enough money was being funneled to the construction of this thing, right? That's usually what it takes, just a ton of money to build these realities. So now that Facebook's entering the game, all of a sudden, these narratives can exist, right? The whole centralized metaverse versus decentralized metaverse. Like now there's a fight to be had, just like it wasn't very difficult to paint that narrative, that picture in people's head that centralized finance isn't really a good thing.
Yeah, right.
At the end of the day, right? There's a lot of negatives and potential like catastrophe that's going to result from it, from its abuse and its corruption, whatever you want to label it as. That's why the whole Bitcoin and cryptocurrency thing came about. So now that we have this centralized, actor coming into the equation, we can build these narratives now. We could start, we could rely on Facebook and Tencent to be the big bad wolf, just like the banks are, right? Which is, it's ultimately good for people like you and me, Willis, who are trying to contribute to a more decentralized ecosystem, right?
That's right. That's a good way of putting things, because once you have an enemy in front of you, you can galvanize a community to go after that enemy and build something that's more sustainable for that community. And,
totally.
And you're right. I mean, Facebook is gonna do something. And I remember us talking about Zuckerberg maybe about a year and a half ago when he was trying to make Libra. And
oh yeah, dude, I totally forgot about that. Yeah. So he already has a track record of building up like these this
dystopic outcome of a financial application,
or like big tech's like entry into what it is, like crypto, this anti big tech space. Like what are you guys doing, dude? Stay out of our game. That's normally the sentiment from like whenever big tech starts to show up.
As soon as I heard Libra, I knew it wasn't going to work. I mean, I think Libra was a bigger threat to the financial system than Bitcoin, to be honest, because if Libra had launched and actually taken off, because Facebook happens to have access to almost 3 billion people, so anything that they launch is the biggest launch ever, right? So had it been successful, it would have single-handedly eroded the power of the dollar in a way that that would be super negative to humanity, right? So because then Facebook would have all that power, right? If Libra had the ability to erode the dollar as quickly as they could have, right? Had they launched and got all that regulatory approval, which I knew it wasn't going to happen. But they talked about it. They tried to get people on board, projects on board. They ended up dropping off. It didn't work. Now, what's different about the metaverse is it's not up to anybody. There is no regulation here that they need to get approval of. It's to everyone else who's unaware, who doesn't know what's going on. To them, it's just a game, and for those people who like you and I, we know what's the implications of the metaverse. Yeah, and it's going to pass through like these graybeards, and they're gonna see this. Oh, Facebook's just making another game. What's the big deal? Where in reality, they're going to take over the digital like mind space of the up and coming like generations.
Yeah, dude, that's actually such a big deal. Yeah, it is going to be easily ignored for I think a long time because it has that cute face covering or whatever you want to call it. Like it looks adorable, right? Oh, look at these kids playing on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, the next Minecraft, whatever the fuck. Who cares?
Right.
And once they start figuring out like, yeah, these digital nations are forming that could potentially compete with like, bigger GDPs out there. That's like what we need to have like digital fucking UN meetings. like at the UN annual meeting, we're going to have to bring in some kind of DAO because there's so much capital and like such a large membership. Like if we don't, like, they could run rampant, things like this, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to have government implication at some point.
Yes, I agree.
It might be 10, 20 years from now, but
yeah, I mean, think of the cryptocurrency space now virtualized in a way where you can actually see the different activities. And there's going to be the whole KYC. There's going to be anti-money laundering situations happening. Like everything that's happened in the crypto space is going to happen in the metaverse. And if Facebook ends up building this thing and gets traction, gets users, I think we might see a very dystopic version of the metaverse where Facebook ends up controlling everything all over again. And for most people, they don't even understand what's going on. They're just like happily jumping in and just like using that service. So yeah, it's really up to us to figure out a decentralized version that we can have multiple contributors, multiple angles of support in terms of not being able to censor anything. So
yeah, I think what's going to happen though, I think you're right. I mean, because it's very difficult to compete with the core community that already exists on like these mega company platforms. Like, there's a whole generation already addicted to Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft and Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever. And it's going to be, to separate them from that addiction is going to be, it's going to take a monumental effort, just like, our reliance on traditional finance. It's not really an addiction. It's more like a need, but there are people out there who don't even have access to that. Right. So they're much more inclined to experiment with these digital currencies. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think there is going to be a massive adoption for like whatever it is Facebook's going to create, whatever it is Tencent is planning on creating. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, but you're frozen.
Yeah, I just saw that. Anyways, let's get past that. But I think there might be like an uphill battle, similar to how Bitcoin took their 12 years to get to this point, right? Like there was a battle of the spreading of mass awareness of like the problem, right? Of the core problems of centralized finance.
Yeah,
I think it's going to take people a little while to understand, like, we're all addicted to this new metaverse thing, but yeah, it kind of does suck in comparison to like the decentralized version of that.
What I think where we have an advantage over something like Facebook is information. I think once people learn about being able to own digital content, I don't think Facebook is going to really support NFTs and that whole thing.
I don't know.
Do you think they'll support NFTs?
I think because they're already like laying frameworks as far as like, at least maybe not Roblox is, right? Remember they have like this whole
they have the same they have the same framework of an NFT, but without the NFT part.
Exactly. So to me, that sounds like they're either waiting for a more strategic play, like as far as like maybe we need to develop our own centralized chain, not rely on this decentralized distributed ledger, because one, there's like regulatory uncertainty with that. So, or maybe that's the second thing they're waiting for, just more regulatory clearance, right? But they clearly understand like the value proposition of a user, not just a creator economy, but like a player economy, right? Like anybody using their platform receiving some kind of benefit in return, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like Facebook building this metaverse. I mean, they've Horizon, so they have concepts of a metaverse already built out. I wonder if they're going to expand on Horizon and just call that the Facebook's platform. But it doesn't seem like that if they're spending $50 million on like research and development.
Yeah, do you really need 10,000 engineers to build that
no
Horizon? No,
absolutely not.
I think they're going for a more infrastructure like computational play, because there are we've identified ourselves through our involvement over the last 2 years in the metaverse. There's a lot of infrastructure left to be built, right? So I think they probably recognize that as well, and they have tons of resources to provide infrastructure, right? So who knows what it is that they're planning on providing for like future metaverse creators, but I think that's what they're going for, right? They want to build a Google-esque engine for the metaverse, right?
I wanted to ask you, what are the core tenets of building out the metaverse that you can come up with that people expect to exist in the metaverse? Like, for example, if you know, when you think of the metaverse, what is it exactly that you think of? The first thing that I think of, for example, is I think of interoperability. If I have a digital asset, I should be able to showcase that digital asset in whatever metaverse that I go to. And so, what other core tenets do you have expectations of for the metaverse?
The biggest one for me is like value extraction, like from a player perspective. Like, I think it starts with that. A metaverse can't exist unless there's opportunity present within it for people to come to it and start extracting value from it right away. Right. Like I think the metaverse is going to evolve in the same way like physical reality did. Nobody fucking went anywhere in the planet unless there was a reason to, right? Because it was too damn dangerous. It was too risky. Why the fuck am I going to risk traversing this desert? Well, I'm going to die, most likely. All of us are going to die unless there's gold or something over there beyond that mountain. Like somebody found some kind of valuable resource. All right, let's take the risk. Let's go kill ourselves to get that resource and get rich. Right. The same psychology will apply to the metaverse. Like if there's no value to be extracted, why would you expect people to come so they could party in your digital nightclubs all freaking night? Like,
right.
Like, come on, dude, that gets played out. Like,
see, but I agree. I agree with everything you said. However, there's no need to own digital assets. All that you need in that situation, man, is to be able to jump in and like be able to earn some sort of micro income.
Yeah, but then like the things of what you're talking about is like then you other human behavioral expectations start to come about. It's like now I need a form, like I need an identity now, right? Okay. Like I'm accruing all this money, but I don't have an identity. So like now what do I spend all this money on? It's like, oh, somebody opened up like a shop selling virtual goods.
Sure.
I want to buy his virtual good because it speaks to my soul.
It makes you unique.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to put that in my little virtual house. Right. It's the same stuff we do in our real life, right?
Okay, that makes sense. So then you're implying that you need ownable digital assets.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, and of course, like Roblox, it's gonna feel like you own them, right? Like they're gonna be in your profile and in your inventory. You can buy them. People are gonna be able to create things, and people are gonna get addicted to that experience. They're gonna love it, right? They're gonna have applications that they could go to school with and show their friends. Like, look at all the cool shit I got, dude. Fuck you, dude. I'm way cooler than you in the metaverse, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, some kid's gonna say something wrong, like in chat, and he's gonna get banned for whatever fucking reason, and all of his shit's gone.
That's right. That's
because Roblox and Facebook, whatever, they own your assets, right?
That's right.
Eventually, this narrative is gonna be ubiquitously understood. And like, oh look, like in this blockchain metaverse, that doesn't happen, right?
So, and so last question is, how do you see the metaverse in general being constructed? Do you think it's going to be like one entity kind of building out that whole world, or do you really feel like, you know, what sort of what we believe, in the sense that we think that the community is going to contribute heavily into creating these metaverses?
I think it's going to start out like much more distributed because it's so hard to pinpoint exactly what needs to be done. So there's going to be tons of experimentation, like there is.
Yeah, so true.
Some things will work, some things will fail, but there's going to be a lot of winners in the beginning. So it's going to be very scattered and fragmented, right? But over time, someone's going to win big.
Yeah.
And then they're going to start sucking all these other players into its entity, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe 20, 30, 40 years from now, we'll have one big company just owns it all, right?
Dang.
Or force or government or whatever you want to call it, you know. It's like some DAO to rule them all.
So do you don't think there's going to be, you know, tons of metaverses out there?
Well, see, the metaverse, I think, is like a singular
it's the collective
thing, like just a metaverse, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be many verses within the metaverse, you know.
Okay.
That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, and for you guys listening, definitely let us know what you think about what your expectations of the metaverse are going to be, and make sure you comment in down below and let us know what you think. So yeah, that's been a conversation really about Facebook and the dystopic potential that they have, and a lot of the things that Zuckerberg is doing good, actually. So yeah,
it's good in the sense like again, we're building these narratives that desperately need to be built, like from a metaverse perspective. Everybody who's like, because I mean, it's up for debate whether or not this is good or bad for humanity, right? Like, there's a lot of good that comes, like, again, from the whole value extraction perspective. There's a lot of people on this planet that need that kind of opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
More than half of humanity doesn't have ample opportunity to accrue any value for their life. So if we can create a digital environment for that to occur, that sounds like a no-brainer, good, like objective, right?
And not only that, that half of the population doesn't have access to that opportunity. They have a portion of them have access to the internet. And
yeah, so, exactly.
It's a no-brainer, like you're saying.
Yeah, but then it comes to like the whole sadness of like, dude, like, you know, we're just going to become like blubbers, right? Hooked up to the metaverse. Like, what's the point of doing anything here in the physical if the virtual is just that much greater, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I guess we're going to find out pretty soon. I mean,
exactly.
So yeah, that's been the Block Runner. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe at our Twitter as well at the Block Runner, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.